Hey guys, I want to go ahead and clarify on a live chat that we had when we were talking about the incident that happened out on the set of a movie being made, with Alec, what's his name? Baldwin. And I was talking about another channel and how one of the guests on the panel was saying, oh, it's so much easier now. It's so lax, it's so this and so that. And then she used the example pretty much presenting it as like she could just go, buy a gun and poof, she could carry. There are still restrictions in place. There are still, well, two things. First of all, it has long been the case in many states, but also across the board, that you could open carry. That hasn't changed. So it isn't like all of a sudden, poof, it's so much easier now. For concealed carry, there are still restrictions. I pulled up just one, you guys, just one. I think it was Tennessee. Let me see if I can find it quick. Tennessee is one of the states who, is doing this, what they're referring to, I think, is the constitutional carry, the support for the constitutional carry. But even in Tennessee, okay, this tonight was in July. I think it was Texas that was in September. Even in Tennessee, it says anybody convicted of driving under the influence, domestic violence, or stalking is not eligible. Neither are felons or individuals who have been committed by the court to a mental institution. Okay, that's how it is now, right? That's how it was before, right? So I think it's just so disingenuous to say, oh, it's just, completely, everything's changed, it's easy now. No, even in Texas. I'm not sure if I don't think I have that one open. That'll take me a while to find. I thought it was cute. The thing that I saw in Texas, they're saying how they're concerned about the lack of training. I agree with that, quite frankly. I agree with that because I don't know if you guys know this or not. I know I've been doxxed so many times that a lot of people know this, but I'm a firearms instructor, okay? I have worked with many students who claim to have experience, who have taken my course where we have 4 hours in the classroom, we have 4 hours on the range. And I'm here to tell you that their activity on the range is concerning, very concerning. And one thing that I really appreciate about the other instructor who I have worked with, he's the only one I trust seriously to, I shouldn't say the only one. There are a few others, but there are so many instructors out there who I don't pair up with. I just don't, because this guy is amazing. He's highly skilled, highly trained, and he does a great job. And he and I both agree, just because you pay the fee for the course, just because you attend the 8 hours, it doesn't mean that you pass the course. And unfortunately, what's been going on for too long is that as soon as people pay that fee and sit there for 8 hours, then they're pushed right through the course and they get their certificate, right? To see states now saying, well, you don't really need to, get any training, I think is, constitutionally speaking, correct. But real life 2021 speaking, I think, oh. And so I would say this, that whether or not your state requires you to get training, get training. And don't just get training one time. Belong to one of the sportsmen's clubs. Join up at the range. Head out there every month, every couple of months at least, and target practice. Become familiar with your firearm. Become familiar with the target. You know, I'll tell you just a couple of things. And this is very sexist, but I think it's good information for you to have, especially if you're female. Male students and female students are different. Female students oftentimes grow tired much faster than male students. Male students can stand there and shoot for a long time, one right after another, and enjoy every minute of it. Women get tired. And it might be because we have different upper body strength than men do typically. Okay. I'm not saying everybody. So, one thing that we do with female students is we suggest that they lower their elbows just a little bit. It doesn't take much. You just lower relax the elbows. Shoot from a lower stance than what, I guess the stereotype of what you see, right? And it works. It works. Another thing, women who talk with their hands, and we all know women who talk with their hands. While I'm sitting here talking with my hands, okay? Female students who talk with their hands at the range have to oftentimes be told to put the firearm down before they speak. Because while they're standing there holding their firearm and they're asking a question, their firearm is circling around with their hand. It is so basic, and yet it happens, and it happens often. It isn't just that it happened one time, so I want to mention it. Women who talk with their hands need training. They need training from qualified instructors to help them have proper boundaries when it comes to handling their firearms safely. So the states that are saying you no longer have to have training, well, on a constitutional level, I applaud that. On a real life level, I say, ooh, be careful. And that's where it comes down to your personal responsibility. If you're going to own a firearm, it's your responsibility to be properly trained. It's your job. And it's your job to also continue with training. Join at the range and to get your butt out there, make it a priority. If you're going to carry a firearm, you dang well better know how to handle it safely. So I just wanted to say that. I think the statements that were made the other day were just off track enough, disingenuous enough, misleading enough, really, that it concerned me. And it's not a matter of being able to just say, well, gee, that's just my opinion. If somebody has a drunk driving, if somebody has a domestic, if somebody has a felony, if somebody has been, committed or diagnosed or whatever, they're not able to just, oh, I think I'll go buy a gun. And here's another thing. And Texas is a good example of this. It's evidently being promoted, the fallacy that just anyone can go in and, spend your money and you're off to the races. No. If you're buying from a regular, if you want to go in and buy from a regular store, you still have to have the background check. I mean, read the law, you guys. Read the law. Instead of reading the headlines, read the actual law. That's where you'll learn. Okay? The details, not the fear mongering. And that's one more point I want to make about this issue before we move on. And that is that when you see articles that are calling firearms weapons, then you pretty much know what way the writer leans in the issue. Because I'm sorry, they're firearms. They're not weapons, they're firearms. And, I think more and more people are just seeing that as the normal word being used for it, and I don't think we should. I think we should correct it any chance we get. Now, moving on. If you guys received an email from YouTube saying that you have a two-step verification thing that you need to do, the other day I said, yeah, I got one of those. Somebody asked me about it in chat, and I said, yeah, I got one of those too. I just ignored it. Well, I got another one, and I took a closer look, and I thought, yeah, maybe I won't ignore this. So I went ahead and did it. So I just wanted to put that out there too. If you guys heard me say, yeah, I just ignored it, I'm going to change that and say, don't ignore that. If you get that email or if you look up your other email, take a closer look and you might decide to go ahead and do this two-step verification too. Oh, and just one more thing. This whole thing about the looser or the laws that are supposedly becoming so, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a negative connotation because that was how it was presented, was like it's not a good thing. If you study the constitutionality of it, okay, our Second Amendment rights, it is a good thing. I think this negative twist in tone, along with misinformation, is not a good thing for anybody, because people who are either afraid of guns or who are so unfamiliar with the whole right to carry, okay, well, they're using words like weapons, okay? They're using statistics also that are like, what? You know, to think that guns, how to say this, because I know everything I say is so heavily scrutinized. To think, I'll just say it this way. Okay, I grew up in a state where there were guns in every home, probably most homes, not every. But as children, we had loaded guns in the house and nobody got hurt. I raised my children with loaded guns in the house and nobody got hurt. Training matters, okay? And respect for the firearms matter, which then will circle back to the incident that just occurred. Why was a prop gun an actual gun? Why was a prop gun loaded? How many people handled that firearm without checking it? What did they do? Hand it, carry it, walk around with it, and nobody's checking? How many people did not check to see if it was a real gun and if it was loaded? And then the bigger question I think that I'm still kind of shaking my head on is, if that would have been you or me or any other regular person, would they have put the handcuffs on and then asked questions? I'm scrolling up to see what you guys are saying. Who is wanting to nail NK? Let me see here. Oh, Christy said, Susie, love it when you stir him up. Who are you stirring up, Susie? Okay, hey Christy, yes, I was in Dee's chat last week and looked for you, but I bailed. I draw the line with David Carter. Is David Carter someone who was like in the prison with Christopher Watts? Okay, here it is. Yes, agree. He is to an extent. He wants to nail in Are you guys talking about seeking the truth? Having David Carter in his chat and the subs talking to him, my blood was boiling and left. Susie says, our police are not armed in the UK. I wouldn't want to be in law enforcement in the UK if they're not armed. I wouldn't want to be. That would be very difficult. So David Carter says he was in prison with Christopher Watts. John McSmith says that Dave dude is a tyrant. Are you guys talking about seeking the truth? I was in one of his live chats the other day and I thought he did a good job. Ray says, I like his seagull. Does he mean it to be a seagull? I have no idea what you're talking about, Ray. He first came on the scene ages ago on 80s channel. I'm clicking on the thing that isn't going up. There we go. Oh, there it disappeared. Do you guys believe all the hoopla going on with AD? Do any of you believe it? I don't. I think it's all a dance that they do. All of them. Ray says, I'm following the hoopadoo with NC. Is that still happening? John McSmith says, I just like to hear Miss M say, the case of Christopher Watts. Yep. I know what you like to hear, John. You like to hear me say, instead of doinking his coworker, he should have been filing for divorce. Susie says, I watched none of him and haven't for ages. I've even stopped watching The Recliner. Gives me the book. Well, I don't really think any of it's real. I don't think AD's getting attacked. And I don't think that other people are getting attacked by AD. I just don't. If you listen to things that AD says recently, when he's been doing his, why are they coming after me? What are they coming after me for? I've never said anything. I've never done anything. He's Mr. Innocent, right? He isn't Mr. Innocent. He has bashed me so many times over and over again. He isn't Mr. Innocent. He promotes hatred. He absolutely promotes hatred. So he can't sit there up on his little, fake set. I think he thinks he's like a news anchor or something. He can't. And I'll tell you, I haven't trusted him for sure ever since he started sitting in one of those Star Trek chairs. Like, come on already. But he can't sit there and honestly say, boo-hoo, they're coming after me. Baloney. When he's also sitting there going, I'm not like Miss Mensa. Miss Mensa says bad things, right? Oh, thanks, AD. So now your stupid little minions are going to come rushing over to start doing their death threats and harassment. And then you have all the other channels, right? And I won't even say all the other channels. They're just a few. And it's like they have their little strategy. I think they get together on a Zoom call and say, who's going to go pretending to not like AD this week, And they kind of pass it around. They have this, and their strategy isn't even good. The one who's trying to take the lead right now is just so transparent. She's trying to, like, whoever's writing her shit scripts is trying to sound tough, and she just doesn't have the delivery for it. You almost need like a wackadoodle avocado to be able to deliver. And speaking of the wackadoodle avocado, AD's promoting the wackadoodle avocado as being some sort of victim. Are you flipping kidding me? The avocado is a victim? Really? A victim of what? Her own flipping insanity? A victim of her own reflection? What is she a victim of? She came right out of the chute making threatening videos, lying, committing slander, committing defamation. She's a victim. And you know what? Speaking of the victims who aren't victims, the self-proclaimed victims, boo-hoo, Amber, are you kidding me? Amber was one of the worst. And then all of a sudden she announced that somehow someone was supposedly, probably the avocado, I'm not even sure who was fighting with who on any given day or any given week, but somebody supposedly was talking about her daughter. Aw, really, Amber? Poor Amber, who posted shit about her daughter. Isn't Amber the one who posted stuff about her daughter? I'm thinking so. I think the people who were talking about her daughter were only talking about whatever she posted about her daughter. Right along the same time that she was applauding people who were actually doxing innocent people and our children and our grandchildren. Well, she applauded all of it. So save the victim routine, all of you. And I don't mean you guys in the chat. I'm talking about people like the avocado and the Amber. Save the victim routine. And AD. And any of the people who are trying to pretend like they're so offended by AD. Over and over again, they're making videos and putting them up there going, we just want AD to stop. We just want AD to stop. Because they're such virtue-selling, holier than thou types, right? Well, guess what? They don't mind doxing. They don't mind threatening. They don't mind promoting hatred and violence. They don't mind harassing our family members, harassing our employers. They don't mind trying to get our subs fired from their jobs as nurses at the hospital. Oh, we would never dox. We wouldn't. Oh, bullshit. It's like I said in the other video. If their lips are moving. No, I think I said if their mouth is open and their tongue's moving a little bit, they're lying. They sit up there, and this is like an every 3-month thing, that they sit up there and go on there, oh, we're against bullying. Really? Are you guys familiar with the Sunday only Christian? Do you know what I mean when I say that? The Sunday only Christian? It's the type of person who'll do whatever they want to do on Saturday night, and they'll pick right up on Monday morning too. But boy, oh boy, on Sunday, Whoa, are they ever holier than thou? Well, these creep channels, I don't even have to list them. I think it's all of them. They do whatever the hell they want to do. They set the bar very, very low for what's acceptable in their little gutter known as, the corner of YouTube that they occupy. They have done and they continue to do some pretty terrible things. And then every few months, it must be that their new script says, okay, now you're going to do an anti-bullying routine. This is what you say. Because they're all saying the same garbage. And what's the reason for it? Ka-ching. Ka-ching. What else would their content be? How else would they keep the case of Christopher Watts front and center? Why else would they keep the case of Christopher Watts front and center? There's another channel too, another one who is building their channel, and there are many spin-offs from the original attacker channels, and they say stuff like that's just so over the top. It's like, yep, well, you know what? Cindy Watts, yeah, she just uses channels. Yeah, she's evil. She's this. She's that. What? How does Cindy Watts use channels? How? Once again, it seems like the people who are committing the sometimes illegal acts are the ones who are trying to point their finger over and over again at Cindy Watts. What has Cindy Watts ever done? What, she gave one ridiculous interview where she said, yeah, I think my daughter-in-law was trying to isolate my son. And they use that as their excuse for attacking her already for a couple of months by then. There were many of us who were around when this case was first being discussed in 2018. October, November, December, maybe not in August, maybe not in September, but October, November, December. And we saw Cindy Watts being attacked with no reason. She was being attacked over and over again with no reason to be attacking her. No person should have ever been treated the way Cindy Watts has been treated. So what do they do now 3 years later? Oh, yeah, Cindy Watts uses channels. Yeah. She's only being attacked because of her interview. Because she said it doesn't matter, because this, because that. Baloney. Ray says it's been, I hope not. She's funny. I can't stand listening to her. I've tried a couple times. People send me links and I try to listen to a little bit of it. And I'm just like, yeah. And I'm just not into her music and whatever, and her mouth, her language sometimes. Is she in on this? I think they're all in on it, Ray. I think that very early on, they were scaring people away from actually talking about this case. I think if somebody did step up to try to have a channel to talk about this case, they were quickly either recruited to join in or they were shoved to the side. Right, Lana the banana. And she'll say things too, like that she's the only person who's ever helped the Watts family. What did she ever help the Watts family with? And then you have KK saying that she talks every day with the Watts family. Like, really? John says, scare people how? With mean texts and posts? Oh, I don't know. Doxing, calling employers, filing false police reports, flying across Liversage. There's a new profile. Ray says, yes, I do. It's the weird wine infused shout outs. She gets crazy. Yeah, and like when she sits there bouncing her head and the music's going and stuff, it's like, I don't know. Not my cup of tea. I do think that Crafton and Kim have a really good little channel going because I think Kim actually knows how to discuss true crime cases. Susie said that KK said just last week that she talks to them several times a day. Yeah, I believe that. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't believe it. I don't. And I don't think it was Cindy who was connecting with her. I think it was her daughter. But notice how the hater channels never make that, clarification ever. It's Cindy, 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 Cindy. Baloney. Susie says, no way, they are as corrupt as the rest. Well, if they would just stick with covering the cases, because I think that Kim did a really good job with the Durst trial. I thought that was interesting. John says the only women I've seen is the heavily sedated Mia and Kimberly. Kimberly? Yeah. When did you come on board, John? I just think the whole AD thing is just a big sham. I think it's a total sham. He sits up there and he's over and over again singing the same song. Oh, we're going to be shut down. Oh, we're going to be shut down. Oh, ho, 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 ho. So here I made 4 more channels. Now check out those other channels because we're going to be shut down. Join us on Patreon. Bring your notebook. Ooh, John's been on board since day one. Susie says, go back months ago when they first came on the scene. He was great in the beginning. Then she muscled in. Susie says, he's in cahoots with the R's, in my opinion. Really? Well, if they do cases like they did with the Robert Durst trial, then I actually enjoy listening. And I did see one of the Seeking the Truth guys live chats, and he did a good job in that live chat discussing different details of a video they were watching. If channel creators want to stick to actually discussing the case, I don't care what their opinions are at all. But if they actually want to offer a platform where people can discuss the case, that's great. John says, if you want to know about the CW case, then read the discovery. That's all the evidence there is. Anything else is gossip, speculation, conjecture. I disagree, John. And I would ask which discovery. MM says, what about the You Know Me channel? I looked at it the other day and it looks like they stopped posting stuff. They had a bunch of short videos that they put up and then they stopped. John says there's only one. Well, John, I think you're wrong. Ray says the bedtime poop show is going on in my house. Susie says KK said last week she's one of the very few that has all of the discoveries. I think it's interesting that the channels who are trying to minimize the other channels are saying that they only talk about the facts. You know, they don't want to talk about opinions. They only talk about the facts and then they give their opinion. Ray says, I'll need a Tylenol soon. John says, what the cops released, that's all anyone has to go on. That isn't true, John. That isn't all that anyone has to go on. There are a lot of bits of information that did not come from Discovery. And if you were around since day one, as you say you were, then you would know that there was a release, and then there was a pullback, and then there was a release. John says, like what? Oh, I don't know. Like somebody saying on a video that both kids were in the emergency room the night before, but she couldn't remember what the diagnosis was for one of them. Susie said, yep, and all these new 20,000 subs on the recliner channel were soaking up every last drop. The panel called KK and NC rock stars. I nearly choked. John says, what's that got to do with August 13? Well, what does it have to do with August 13, John? When you have a woman who's saying in her text messages that she asked her husband if he would stay with her if they didn't have kids. What does that have to do with August 13? John says, you're not going to call me wrong. Then say, Shanann got the diagnosis wrong, so I don't know the facts. Yeah, and you know what, John? I'm not going to waste any more time with you. If you want to discuss the case, discuss the case. But to put, you're not going to call me wrong, then say, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't work that well for you here, honey. Christy says, I thought the KK channel was deleted. Obviously not. Well, all the deleting the channels routines, yeah. John says that's not a fact of the case. Evidently it is, John. Evidently it is. The discovery is not a complete file of all of the facts of the case. Susie says, made an appearance last week on NC Channel, talked about a collaboration channel with NC on all things Watts. Ooh, Susie, that'll be a must watch, won't it? For those who, you know, are the leaders. I love it too. Have you noticed how a lot of the hater channels are saying that they've been covering, they use the word covering as if they're reporters. They've been covering the Watts case for 4 years. I've heard that from like 3 different channel creators. It's been 4 years. Well, it hasn't been 4 years, but evidently their writer must think it has been. Susie says, told you last week, I'm having a front seat for this train wreck. Well, I think, it's interesting, I guess, if they want to discuss the case, more power to them. I just think that the channels who are so heavily into trying to dance the dance with other channels are probably just kind of part of the pack. Here's John's latest little whine comment. Here we go. I went contrary to the narrative here, see? Just barely, too. And what happened? I was attacked, told I'm wrong, told it won't fly here. There, now you were just mocked, too. You can add that to your whine fest. Susie says it was all an act to see how subs would take it. Money opportunities and all. Exactly. And you know what, you guys? YouTube is free. YouTube is free. Listen to those videos. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm so serious about this, that, or the other thing. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. They're so serious about discussing the case that they can't help but notice the super chats. Ooh, interesting typo, John. I saw that exact same typo at one of the channels who's going hard against AD right now, supposedly going hard against AD. Really, you guys have to get writers who know how to spell. You really do. Let's go ahead and ask John the 3-second question. Okay, John, are you ready? We're going to give you the count of 3. You ready? Give us the date of Cece's birthday. 1, 2, 3. Christy's getting a laugh out of that. And there we go. Cece's birthday is not a fact of the case. Oh, yes, it is, John. Oh. Busted. Busted. Oh. That was cute. Who? Who's Cece? And you know the really sad part, you guys, is we ask the same question every time. You'd think that they would compare notes. Yes, Sharon Ann. Good point. Good point. I wonder what their memos look like. They probably get like a weekly sign up or something. They're probably like, okay, what you can do is you can make a video talking about, and then they give, 3 different possibilities. And then everyone hops on and tries to make a video acting like they know what they're talking about. Whoever it is who's using the John profile was very careful to spell it right this time. Yeah, Jeanette, we knew who you meant. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? The Watts edition. Good one, Ray. Good one, Susie. But remember, she was a retired nurse. That detail doesn't matter. One detail probably doesn't matter, but when you have 100 of them, pretty soon they matter. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why were there so many lies right out of the gate? Why? And it all comes down to follow the money, right? Just my opinion. I don't think anybody would be talking about the case of Christopher Watts at all if not for the scammers. Because when people stop talking about the case, then the scammers jump on board to do their routine with each other. This one's attacking that one's attacking this one. This one's a friend of that one's a friend of this one. They love each other, they hate each other. And then they disappear. You notice that? They disappear for a while, and then they come on back with a whole new revisionist history. Do you guys believe that the girls were taken to the doctor as many times as what was claimed on social media? Do you think it's possible that they didn't go to the doctor or to the emergency room or to the specialists as much as she claimed? Think about that. What if a lot of her posts were just all out lies? Doctor trips do matter. Have you seen the photo op video yet, John? Have you ever known a mother to post photos of babies sleeping with blankets over their faces? Multiple times? Or threatening the grandmother that the kids will never step foot in her house again? And then a month later they were dead? Or accusing the grandmother of attempting to murder one of the children, and then a month later the children were murdered? When you have a parent posting repeatedly that the children are sick with some very serious issues going on, repeatedly posting, and using the language, before he wakes up the kids and she strangles, and then she says the dog. And when we were told by a family member that there were 2 court hearings, and one was for an ongoing family matter, when you have 2 kids in daycare full time while their mother sits at home on her bun, and then you have the fastest court case known. Have you ever seen a murder case move so fast through the system? And what did we hear over and over again? That his in laws told the prosecutor that they didn't want him to get the death penalty. Cindy Watts was right. Who was ever worried about the death penalty? In Colorado? When was the last time anybody was executed in Colorado? In the 1990s? And they've changed the law since. And I looked, I didn't see at any point that the prosecutor requested that the death penalty be put on the table. But over and over again, we heard that it was the in laws who made that decision that they didn't want the death penalty. And that he evidently agreed to whatever because he didn't want the death penalty. When was the death penalty ever an issue? Why did the case move so fast? Why did the stories change over and over again? There for a long while, we were told that there was a video showing Christopher Watts carrying the bodies out like trash, right? And then everything changed. It seems interesting to me that as soon as Set the Record Straight put out a video showing the theory on what may have happened, then all of a sudden the story changed. Nobody died in the house. Really? Because for months we were told that everybody died in the house. Why were we told by a family member that we'll never know the truth? If we'll never know the truth, then does that mean that we're being lied to? And if we're being lied to, why? Why were there so many attacker channels jumping on board as soon as the case of Christopher Watts hit the headline news? Who hired them? Who wanted the attacker channels to be attacking innocent people? Why were the attacker channels attacking innocent people in 5 specific areas? And then when those of us who were being attacked took a closer look at the case specific to those 5 areas, we found that there was a whole lot of lying going on specific to Christopher Watts' wife. Why was Christopher Watts' wife listed as an endangered missing person? Why were Bella and Cece listed as endangered missing persons? They were presumably with their mother. Why did the police respond to a friend calling saying, "I haven't heard from my friend"? I think so too. And why is it that for the first time ever that I know of, discussing a true crime case suddenly becomes the wrong thing to do? Why is it that the true crime community has suddenly shifted only on YouTube? But why is it that it's suddenly shifted from shifting from discussing actual true crime cases to posting all of this information about open cases, about missing people. Look at some of the things that people have said about open cases. And it started really with the case of Christopher Watts when people were calling him a monster and evil and guilty. They used to say the alleged killer. And I'm talking mainstream media too. But with the case of Christopher Watts, they didn't use the word alleged or accused. Oftentimes, they just flat out said he was the killer. And in some cases, they said he confessed to doing it, that he confessed to killing his wife and children when he hadn't. Susie, I think that's exactly right. Guilty by media. And it's really sad because, like in the case out of Florida, Ray, I think you spotted exactly what was happening. I just blocked him, or her actually, using a profile with the name John. But look at the case out of Florida. You know, what a circus. And you have one of the most disgusting channel creators of all down there yelling and screaming and saying some pretty threatening things. Exactly, Johnny. One report in media even said an insider said there was so much evidence against him and none against her. Really? That's exactly right. He was busy copying and pasting. I noticed that too, Susie. Interesting timing, right? There was one channel creator, I'm not sure if it was on his channel or if he was a guest on it, but there's a well known name in true crime, well known for decades. And he actually got up there and said something terrible about the missing young man in Florida who they found. Terrible. And when I heard that, I just thought, wow, has this been going on all along and I've just never noticed it before? I don't think so. I think in the last few years, it's taken off where basically anything goes, the wild, wild west, you know? People think they can say anything at all. And it's almost like they're trying to say things that are really over the top, like they're trying to push the envelope. And then in the middle of it all, you have all these channels that are supposedly fighting with each other and virtue signaling each other while they're all committing the same crimes. I just love it when I hear a channel creator saying, oh, I would never dox. I would never do this. I would never do that. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. and they have people up on their panels who brag about doing it. So I guess what's the moral of the story? I don't know. Is true crime no longer able to be discussed? Are the only people who can discuss true crime cases those who have joined the packs and the teams? Are those of us who can see through the garbage going to constantly be under attack because we see through the garbage? Christy says, ding, ding, ding. I hate to say it, but I really think that YouTube is not the place to discuss true crime anymore. I think it's interesting too that the other platforms don't put up with any of the negative stuff. The other platforms don't tolerate what's going on YouTube. Yes, Ray, it looks like they're all out tonight. A lot of people bash the whole Patreon thing, but Patreon is really where you can still put up videos and not have to deal with the junk. So, in the middle of it all, we'll go ahead and carry on and have our true crime case discussions from time to time. And we'll keep blocking the fake profiles that come in and try to own the discussion. But it's sad. Overall, it's really sad. A friend of mine was talking to me about this whole YouTube thing, and he said something that I hadn't even thought of. I've said it before a couple of times that I've kind of wondered out loud about it, but he made a couple of really good points. Take a look at the channels, even the ones that just start out, but also the ones that have been around for a while. Take a look at their moderators. Why do they have moderators? Christy says, what's happened to Paula lately? Haven't seen her. Well, this is really early for Paula. But you're right. I thought that too about the other couple of live chats. We haven't seen her. Jeanette says, do you think it's significant that CW admitted to killing his wife when his father turned up? I don't know. I don't know. When you sit there and hear Ronnie say that his daughter-in-law was 35th from the top, it makes me wonder if Christopher Watts doesn't honestly believe that his wife was some sort of superstar or something. Ray says, what about the mods? Check out the mods. Number one, ask yourself the question, why do they have mods? Why do they need mods? What do they need mods for? Then ask yourself, why are certain mods in certain channels? And how did they become mods to begin with? Is that one of the things they can sign up for? Why are certain people blocked and certain people aren't? Why is it that over and over again the mods seem to be the problem? Also, ask yourself this. How many actual people are discussing this case? Actual people, not all their fake profiles, because they have plenty. Ray, I agree with you. Ray says, I haven't heard any bashing lately, so that's good. I agree with you. It's about time, that's for sure. It's about time. Because that was ridiculous for way too long. You know, maybe they finally got to the point where they figured we're going to keep on talking about the case. And they figure it's better. And it actually is better for them not to mention us, because when they do mention us, then their subs come and check us out. And then they find out that all the crap that they've said for 3 years isn't even true. But yeah, back to the mods. Why do they have mods to begin with? Why are the mods so often involved with so many different channels? Why are certain people blocked and certain people aren't? Why are certain comments deleted? And look at how fast they delete certain comments. Just step back and watch. Are the mods there to make sure the narrative is controlled? Christy says, hey, Susie, do you remember Kathy Joe that was always in here? Christy says that she read that she is I'm a Clover. I think a lot of the different mods have a lot of different profiles. And then you have to ask yourself, why? Who do they work for? Okay, so you guys tell me, what do you want to talk about? Ask a question about the case of Christopher Watts. Let's talk about something about the case of Christopher Watts. Susie says, Ray, they all latched on to get with MJ. They were already connected to MJ, Susie. They were part of the MJ scene day one. Oh, okay, got it. Got it. Yep. Yeah, they ran as one. That's for sure. And again, ask yourself why. Okay, so let's say whatever you guys want to talk about. Let's say something more about the case of Christopher Watts, and then we'll take off and get some things accomplished. Susie says they all got flung from CKs, then moved to NC. I think they were connected to CK right from the start, right all along. I don't think they ever got flung from CKs. I think she probably was the reason they got started. Ray says, where did all the contents of the house go and why give it to charity? Good question. I'm surprised that the house was released so fast. I'm surprised they didn't run a lot of tests and, you know, I think it's shocking that the house was released so fast. And then I've heard some people say that the stuff was given to charity. I've heard other people say that it's sitting in a locked storage unit. Sharon says, I like MJ's conspiracy videos. Well, I don't like anybody who pulled the crap that she pulled. I remember one day when she hopped up on the panel, she had her profile was a different profile than the one that she uses, and it had evidently her real name on it. And I saw it on the thing when she first hopped up, and I didn't put her up on the panel. And I said, "Be careful, is that the name you want to use?" And she changed it. So she is dealing with somebody who encouraged her to hop up on the panel, who encouraged her to hide her name, to not put herself at any kind of risk, who encouraged her to debate and to discuss, who encouraged her to start her own channel. And what did she do? She lied. Over and over again, she lied. And she bashed. And she slandered. I guess having her own channel must have been so important to her that she didn't mind pulling the stuff she pulled. And that's just really sad. It's like I said before, even about like Alice Cooper, she does have a lot of good things, a good, a good channel with crafts and stuff like that. But she has to take part in the slander. She has to take part in the attacks. Why? Jeanette, that's an interesting theory. Jeanette says, I wonder if CW was told to say he killed his wife and he would only be charged with a crime of passion, receive a lesser sentence, and the real perpetrators would get off scot-free. Or maybe he was told to say that he killed her in order to protect her image. I don't know. And maybe he's a total monster who killed everybody and he's just playing everybody across the board. Or maybe he's a total doormat who is continuing to say what he's told to say. And you know what? Maybe that family member's right. Maybe we'll never know the truth. Or maybe we already do know the truth. I don't know. Susie says to protect SW and her family, and that's what he's taking to the grave. Susie said, I believe he was told exactly what to say. Interesting. Sharon says, I don't think we will ever know. I hope we do. I think it'll take probably 10 years before the truth comes out. But I do think the truth will come out. So we're almost to an hour and a half. Let's go ahead and call it a day so that we can get on with our days and get some things accomplished. I don't know what time it is where you guys are at, but it's about 7:30 here. So I'm going to get busy now. And we'll do this again probably this weekend. We'll try for this weekend. And let's try to stay on the case itself on the details of the case itself. If I start wandering off, I'd prefer not to be focusing on the other crap, but I know I'm just as guilty as you guys. So if I start talking away about the other stuff, just, let's all help each other stay on track of talking about the case itself. That'd be great. Susie says, it's a monsoon here today. Ray's heading to bed. Ray says, I'm off to bed. Sharon says, stay safe, everyone. And on that note, I'm going to say, be safe, be healthy, and know that you are loved. Everyone have a great rest of the week, and we'll touch base this weekend.